Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Jagadish Ganla. Along with my wife Dr. Ragdeep Tidiga, we will be providing lots of content regarding life science career opportunities, healthcare entrepreneurship innovation, and also women health and empowerment. Watch our content, stay tuned, you will learn quite a lot about healthcare innovation. Today in this talk, you will be hearing to Dr. Venu Thatikonda. He is a scientist at a company called Boehringer Ingelheim in Vienna, Austria. He has a PhD from German Cancer Research Center, Heidelberg, Germany. So in his talk, he will share all the details like what he has done to change to bioinformatics as his career. So he has a pharmacy background, but due to some guidance and some courses, he could build a successful career out of it. So he will also share like what are all the tools that you need to build a career around it, and also he will share the next trends in maybe next 10 years to 20 years, what are the digital health trends. So stay tuned, you will learn quite a lot from him.
Yeah,
A very good afternoon, Venu. So many thanks for joining, and I'm really pumped up to interview you, to basically record a podcast with you, because it's your story is very inspiring. You kind of built your own career, even though you had a lot of setbacks in your life, but with your determination, with your grit, I mean, all the superlatives that we can think of, that you use them for your career. So I'm very excited to really talk to you and also to share your story, like how from the very background like you came from. So maybe you just explain like what do you do and also where you come from.
yeah. Hi, Jagdish. I'm also really looking forward to our talk today and also kind of explain what I've been through in terms of career changes and also what I've studied and where exactly the switch was in terms of biology, pharmacy to informatics and how this is going on now. Yeah, let me briefly start with where I studied my bachelor's and what exactly my field of expertise was at that time. Yeah, I basically studied pharmacy as a bachelor degree in Warangal. It's called something called Kakatiya University and a college associated to Kakatiya University to be precise. Um, now, if I go back and look at my college, actually there is no college at all. So they completely removed that college. So whatever, but I got good education there. It's really a nice college. So yeah, I studied pharmacology, basically the fundamentals of pharmacology and also microbiology, biology, and basically the fundamental principles of all you can think of in terms of biology, right? So after that, yeah, all those things were good, and I took the national exam, something called GPAT and NIPA. These are two back-to-back national entrance exams. If you pass in those two exams, then only you are allowed to select one of these national importance colleges, which is called NIPER, National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. And they basically offer master's program in various disciplines that for students, those are coming exactly from pharmacy background. So if you study pharmacy in your bachelor's degree and you get a master's in a subject that is associated still with pharmacy, right? So I chose the subject informatics, so something called pharmacoinformatics that combines informatics technologies with the pharmaceutical subjects.
Mhm.
And in that in during my masters, I studied a lot about these in silico drug designs and basically kind of introduced to programming.
Mhm.
Yeah. And one of my seniors, I still remember one of my seniors during my master's told me there is a website called EDX. They offer different courses in programming and etc. Maybe you can learn programming called R language. That was my first introduction to, programming and learning programming, taking courses. And I went on to check this website, and I checked this website, and there is something called R course. I
Mhm.
took that course because it was free. Because at that time point, I was not really in a position to buy a course and pay somebody money to teach me. And it was free course, and I took the course, and there were different sections. They basically introduce you to the programming, and at the end, they'll give you a set of questions
Mhm.
from the course you learned to test your knowledge on that. And that was I still have that certificate. I got that certificate in 2014, and I would say that is kind of turning point in my whole career, right? There was no background of your computer science or anything, no programming background, and all of a sudden you are introduced to this programming language, or in my case it was R, maybe any other programming language. So your pattern of thinking changes suddenly. So all the while you were thinking in terms of large experiments that takes long, very long time. And once you know the programming and the logics of programming, not only you get a skill set, but your thinking pattern also changes. The way you think also changes drastically, and that's a lot of improvement over my bachelor's degree. And I mean, you can basically say pre-learning programming, post-learning programming, if you can divide my life into that. So yeah, after that, so once I was introduced to programming, and I already have the domain knowledge, as you can imagine, because I studied pharmacy. So the next thing to do is find certain position where this programming and also biological domain knowledge is required. So there are a ton of labs in India that are doing very, very good biological research, and they are kind of lacking these expertise, right? So they don't find people who can do programming and who also have the biology knowledge. So wherever I applied, so people were preferring me, and they wanted me to join their lab and
Mm-hmm.
uh, provide my expertise to their project. So I chose one of the labs
Mm-hmm.
there during my master's, and I worked on something called gene expression analysis of cancer data sets. And I worked on those, and I gained even more skills there. How exactly this big data in biology works, and how I can also apply these data science principles to biological data.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, after that, so next obvious thing, because all my peers were doing PhDs, so yeah, why not do a PhD in this area? So I applied to Germany and also a couple of other European countries to find a PhD position. Yeah, I got a couple of offers. At the end of the day, I'm in a position to choose which one I really like. I mean, this is completely new for me. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, you also have the same experience, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
that you never had really options to choose from. You just basically go with what you get, and at the end of the day, you have 3 4 options, and you have the luxury to choose one of the positions from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I evaluated different labs and what kind of work they are doing, what kind of publications they are publishing, the impact of their work, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I chose one lab in German Cancer Research Center, Heidelberg. Exactly, that's where we met. Yeah, after I did really enjoy my PhD, and I learned a lot. These are really one of the very important peoples in the field who are contributing to cancer research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gained a lot of knowledge there, and even so, as the saying goes, the more you learn, the more you realize you know very little. So yeah, and still feel like very imposter, and also yeah, I'm still learning. That's basically the entire journey in a nutshell.
And what do you do right now? I mean, I know what you do, but maybe
Yeah.
for the audience, you can tell that.
Yeah, exactly. So after PhD, I joined a pharma company called Boehringer Ingelheim. So they have different sites in different countries. Even India has one site, Boehringer Ingelheim in Hyderabad.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I apply my data science skills, computational expertise to amplify different projects and accelerate different projects in Boehringer.
Great, great.
Yeah,
So you're still a research scientist at Boehringer Ingelheim, and you are using the skill set that you
yeah,
gained through your master's, your PhD, and
exactly.
that's amazing. I'm also so interested to know a little bit of your more background because I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that you came from very, very humble background, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Can you stress a bit on that? Because your story is very inspirational for me at
Mhm.
least.
Yeah.
And most of the target audience that this video will be seen by, some of the students from India and the rural
Mhm.
backgrounds.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could share your story so that they get inspired.
Yeah, definitely, Jagdish. I'm always a bit hesitant to talk all this journey from scratch, but yeah, let me try to explain. So, yeah, I was actually born in a very small remote village called Potredpet. It's actually if you many people might know district called Karimnagar. Maybe from Karimnagar, it's like 200 kilometers from Karimnagar to a remote village. So we had a school actually, but I'm really grateful to those people who actually started that school. So somebody who was already educated, studied up to 10th or maybe even degree,
Mhm.
started something called assembled different students, or let's say kids, who were just roaming on the road, and he kind of thought maybe I can teach them something, and in return maybe I can charge some money for them. And yeah, he assembled like 10 to 15 students, and basically in the beginning we were just sitting under a tree, and he was teaching us different subjects, ABCD and alphabets in Telugu. And yeah, after a certain while, the number was increased up to 30, 35. And also from class 1 to class 2, this is also your promotion, right? So you don't sit anymore with the class 1 students once you went to class 2. So he rented a small apartment, no, not apartment, small house, which has 2 different rooms. In one room class 1 students are sitting, in the other room class 2 students were sitting. I was actually the senior of that school, alumni of that school. Yeah, it was really nice experience, and also I'm really grateful for all those people who taught these basics. And also it's really amazing to think they thought education is important for kids, right? With education you don't see immediate benefits. In the long term you get a lot of benefits, and also your life improves massively. But if you go to school for 1 year, you don't get anything. Maybe you get some basic knowledge, but going to school and having an education and going through this entire process, it's a long-term benefit. You don't get anything in return even after 5 years. It's like maybe after finishing university of 5 years, yes, you will get a job. But in the beginning somebody thought education is important, people should educate, and these kids who are here, if they kind of have an education, basic idea of education, they might go somewhere else to progress their education, right? and
Yeah.
and and in my school at the time, the maximum class standard was fourth class. So after fourth class, you don't know what to do.
Mm.
And after fourth class, so there was another school that is 10 kilometers away from my village. So again, we assembled kids after finishing my fourth class at my my school. We were the first batch out from that school.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to this school which offered the classes up to 10th.
Mhm.
And yeah, we were there, and every day we were going this 10 kilometers up and down. And yeah, we studied up to 10th class there, and that's really amazing to think back. And unfortunately, not many people who went to school, who started with me, didn't continue for obvious reasons. I mean, not everyone has, again, the luxury to go through the entire process. They want some immediate survival needs. They have to work. Yeah, I really acknowledge those people also, and I'm really grateful to people who actually started and who actually thought education is important at that time.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was my story from scratch in a nutshell.
I mean, I do not know how much we are able to convey, but it's
Yeah,
really inspirational that you went to a school that there is no school. It's like you
yeah,
studied
yeah,
in a tree, and then I also remember that you studied a lot with scholarships, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
government scholarships or the private
yeah,
scholarships.
yeah,
Otherwise you might have also ended up like your friends who
yeah, yeah.
do not have luxury to study.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly. And I think there were. I mean, people don't actually know there exist scholarships even to study bachelors, because after 10th I studied class 11, class 12, and it's also called intermediate stage between university and the high school.
Mhm.
And yeah, after that, so somebody, I mean, my father found out in a newspaper. Yeah, I mean, there is something called LIC scholarships. They'll give you a scholarship if you have good grades in intermediate. And he went to, actually, that was a really funny story. He went to internet cafe. People basically set up a couple of computers, and they provide these internet services. If you need to do any application, or if you need to do some Xerox, they do these kind of things.
Mhm.
And it was really a funny story. My father went to this guy,
Mhm.
and he showed this newspaper, and he wanted, so I want to apply this scholarship for my son, and what do you charge? He said 50 rupees.
Mhm.
And my father, like, 50 rupees is too much, I'm going back. And the internet guy called again, and I'll do this for 15 rupees. And my father, like, okay, 50 to 15 is a large reduction. I can do 15. So he paid 15 rupees and he applied. Fortunately, I got that. So they paid every month 1,000 rupees for my entire bachelor's 4 years. That was really amazing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Again, we forget about the humble beginnings what we have, right? When we
yeah,
look back,
exactly.
little things like 50 rupees to 15 rupees bargain,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it is that made you a complete career.
yeah, yeah,
Great, great. Thanks, Venu, for sharing that. So let's get back to the main topic of. I mean, today what we will be discussing is really the data, like the big data,
yeah, yeah,
artificial intelligence, machine learning in healthcare. So these are all the recent trends. Like when we talk
yeah,
about Industry 4.0,
yeah,
sometimes people say it's buzzwords, but believe it or not, this is the future, and we have
yeah,
to use them, or otherwise we just will be left back.
yeah.
So can you shed a light on it? Like what are these things?
Yeah, yeah,
Especially.
exactly. Yeah. That's really one of the topics that excites me more, especially in this era, 2020, 2021. So let me briefly explain what data science is, what data is, right? What can you imagine if I say biological sciences? You can basically imagine you study the biological principles, fundamentals of biology, and also how the different human organs work, and these kind of things you study in biology. And if I say physical science, you study different physics principles and how the world works, and how one can use those principles to come up with new innovations. Exactly, if you extrapolate that logic to data science, the science of studying data. So what's hidden in the data, what kind of patterns we have in the data, and how can we use this data to come up with new innovations, or even amplify the already existing innovations, or amplify the utility of existing products. So all these kind of things that come kind of umbrella term for data science. Again, you can imagine data science. So it's relatively new, but is exponentially growing field. Let me just say. So in 2000 you had two balls, let's say. That is your data. So whatever you want to do, whatever your hypothesis was, you had to experiment with these two balls and come up with some kind of conclusion and narrative. And in 2020, the two balls became 2 lakh, right?
200.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And in next 2 years, I would say that 200,000 becomes 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine, 20 years ago, you are coming up with a hypothesis, narrative, conclusion, or product with two balls. And in 20 years span, the two balls became 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine how can you utilize that data,
Mm-hmm.
2 million data points, and come up with different logicals and different hypotheses, different conclusions. And basically basically amplifying the utility of your products from 2 balls to 2 millions. And basically, so let's say your 2 balls product was used by, let's say, a population of 100,000. And just imagine 2 million product, how many people can use your product. It expands the utility of your product and amplifies the utility of the product. That's basically the idea behind the data science, especially in biology and healthcare life sciences. And what do you need for this data science? How can you get in? So people always say data science is the interdisciplinary of 3 different domains. So one, you need programming, as explained. So you always need programming, because it's not like, so dealing with 2 balls is easy, dealing with 2 million balls is not so easy. You have to have a computer that does the job for you, and you need to have the skill to tell the computer what you want to do. Yeah, that's one domain. And the other domain is statistics or mathematics. And yeah, so in order to tell the computer what to do, what is your hypothesis, and you have to convert that hypothesis into certain formulas, so that computer can understand and deal with your data and give you the results. And the other is the domain knowledge. Domain knowledge in our case is life sciences, biology, pharmacology, chemistry, all these kind of things. And the important thing to note here is you don't need expertise in all 3 domains, because nobody has this kind of expertise, right? I mean, if you spend in a position that does this, Like for 20 years, you might gain certain expertise in these three domains. But for starters, even for me, I can't say I'm an expert in all these three domains.
Mhm.
Because for life science students, bachelors who were studying biology or related to biology, anything related to biology, they already have certain domain knowledge, meaning they know the fundamentals of biology. They know the fundamental principles that they need to know in biology. That's already enough. They have the domain knowledge they needed. And I would say, if you add to the domain knowledge, maybe programming, yeah, if you learn a programming language, maybe whatever you chose the programming language, if you know the programming language, that's when you can combine this programming and the biology.
Mhm.
And that's what people need now. I mean,
Mhm.
of course, as you go along in the projects and as you go along with your work, you learn the other domain, which is statistics and mathematics. That's on the go learning. But if you already have this basic knowledge of two domains, you can already get into certain positions and apply your skill set to different very interesting problems and come up with solutions, or maybe help someone who want a solution for that problem.
I think the statistics are needed to make a meaning out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so you get a lot of numbers. It's mostly numbers game. So you get certain numbers, but you have to interpret in a way
Mhm.
that's actually useful for the ultimate problem we have.
Mhm. Mhm. So, I mean, the data science is really exploding, as you said. So,
Yeah,
how do you see yourself, or also like, what are the trends that you observe now?
yeah,
I'm very much interested in healthcare.
yeah,
The topic what we will be discussing is mostly healthcare,
yeah.
because I mean, we use artificial intelligence for the photos, like where
Mhm.
it kind of face recognition software and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe we talk about healthcare, like what are the trends that are happening,
yeah.
and what you are also using and where you are also playing a role.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
That's really interesting question, Jagdish. Let me first clarify something about artificial intelligence. So whenever you listen the word artificial intelligence, people always imagine some robots doing some stuff, right? So that's not true. I mean, to some extent that's true, but that's completely a different field. We don't need to, I mean, we need to care about what's happening,
Mhm.
because at some point maybe the robots come into the lab and do the work you're doing.
Mhm.
All of a sudden you will find yourself jobless, but that's not anytime soon. But yeah, I want to give some clarity on that. Artificial intelligence is not robots, right? So
Mhm.
it's just it let's simplify it massively. It's
Mhm.
just a script or program
Mhm.
that does what you want to do. And
Mhm.
it's also helping you to amplify your potential. You
Mhm.
can't do everything on your own with your hands.
Mhm.
So this artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all these things are helping you to amplify your potential, to find a solution you want for your problem.
Mhm.
And that's the case.
Mhm.
And what people are doing now, so there are especially in healthcare, people are doing many different kind of things. So I will, let me give you some examples. So if you go to a hospital, they will take x-ray or MRI images. And also if you go to a cancer specialist, that you might have certain tumor or a lump of tissues, they'll take these histology images to see what's exactly the shapes and what is happening. And these are, so we 10 15 years back, or maybe even 20 years back, people didn't think this is really a useful data, other than doctor looking at them and telling you what's happening.
Mhm.
And now, so let's say all these 20 years people collected all this data,
Mhm.
and applying to this data, these data science principles and machine learning, deep learning, it's a massive tool
Mhm.
to get a solution, to reach to a solution for many questions. I'll
Mhm.
give you another example. A recently friend of mine in Stanford started a startup which is called Crosscope. So
Mhm.
they usually collaborate with these cancer specialists,
Mhm.
and they train these deep learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence models, programs on those histology images, and try to find exactly what is causing these tumors, or what is causing these lump of tissues in their body. So
Mhm.
these are the kind of questions you can answer in this, is especially in the field of cancer. If you go out of cancer, there are many other things. So recently there was a video I saw on YouTube. it's about predicting diabetes without even using any invasion techniques, right? So what they did was they trained a model on how people walk. So
Mhm.
not how normal people walk, how a person with the diabetes walk. So
Mhm.
there is a difference in the hand movement, so between normal person and the diabetes person. So they made a wearable device just like a watch,
Mhm.
and they collect the data. What is the angle between these hand movements of a normal person and the diabetes person? So basically, you wear the watch for like 2 months, and
Mhm.
it will tell you if you have a diabetes or not. How amazing is that?
This is amazing,
Just
right?
from watch.
Yeah.
So these are very few examples, even more, that are many things are happening. And one other example I can give you, many people can relate, is during Corona. So government rule is to, you wear a mask, that's safe for you.
Mhm.
And that's basic common sense. If you wear a mask, there are many things that can't go into your mouth or your
Mhm.
nose,
Mhm.
and you can restrict many number of diseases, especially Corona.
Mhm.
And one guy I saw on in the internet, who built this machine learning model, uh, which can detect how you are wearing a mask, right? So wearing a mask doesn't mean if you wear this mask like this, it's not useful. I mean, your nose is still out. And what's the proper way to wear a mask, and how can you detect, like, in a large scale? So this guy trained a machine learning model which detects accurately, almost with 90-95% accuracy, uh, if a mask was wore properly or not. So basically detects if the mask is here or here, covering your entire nose and mouth.
Okay,
And
okay.
you need those kind of models and techniques to see in which area people are only partially wearing the mask, in which area people are wearing the mask properly.
Mhm.
And based on that, you can identify the trends in the COVID increase numbers,
Okay.
and then maybe take more proper measures in those areas, and maybe educate people properly to wear the mask properly. So these are the kind of things that are really coming out with these machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence
Mhm.
uh, techniques. Yeah, those are the few examples, but I can go on.
No, I also
What's
support several
exactly happening?
startups, and yeah, I
Yeah,
also support several digital health startups, and
yeah,
yeah, most of them are in the neurobiology, like
yeah, yeah.
predicting Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly. And also I can the guy's first name is David. I forgot the last name. He's a neuroscientist. I think you also saw his TED talk.
Mhm.
And they are trying to build a device
Mhm.
when people are amputated, like
Mhm.
when their hand was cut, or by some defect they didn't get any hand while growing. They produced a device, so it connects your brain neurons to this motility. So there's a device, and there's one more device on your head,
Mhm.
and based on your thinking, your hand moves. So
Mhm.
exactly like us. See,
It's like
all these things are
like
coming out.
seeing Black Mirror, like.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
Exactly. and
but
and also it's really good that you mentioned Black Mirror. I highly recommend people to watch this, because artificial intelligence is not only good things, there are many bad things can happen. And this Black Mirror web series on Netflix gives you a very good idea of what can go wrong, and
Hmm.
how people should be careful about it.
I mean, in terms of healthcare, I have a positive view with
Yeah.
digital health applications. I mean, I use digital health because most of the things, the data and all the things are digital. Like it could be mobile apps, or it
Mhm.
could be web-based platforms, or it could be when you think of smart cities and everything,
Yeah,
it could be the algorithms that you use in multiple sensors and all the stuff.
yeah, yeah,
I think I think digital health is the new trend in healthcare. So, like there will be a lot of startups that we will see.
yeah.
Even the German government has something called DIGA, which is a
Mhm.
revolutionary reimbursement system for the
Yeah.
apps that
Mhm.
the doctors can prescribe. So, in terms of pharmaceutical companies, like
Yeah.
how are they utilizing this? And also, as you said, like if they don't focus, I think they will be outcasted in within next 10 years or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how is it going with in terms of pharmaceutical industries or even the universities who are
Yeah.
the big players?
Yeah, exactly. So these pharmaceutical industries and big players in academia are doing very good job. And as you rightly put it, if they don't catch up with these technologies, or if you don't enter into this space of improvement, they'll be left behind. There is no question. You can imagine many examples in tech. For example, Nokia, I mean, they didn't keep up with the new improvements and they were left out. And that exactly can happen with many companies also, that are in healthcare. I can, so my knowledge, of course, is also mostly around cancer and what's happening in cancer. But you can basically imagine, of course, what is the goal of pharma company? They want to produce certain drugs for certain diseases.
Mhm.
And it's massively long process, right? So I mean, even so, just take another same example from our experiences. How the vaccine was produced for like 100 years ago, and what is the time frame that vaccine was rolled out to people, and what was the time frame that was last year, right? It's massively reduced. And I can't emphasize this enough, their computational role in producing these vaccines. So there were many insights that produced by computational analysis and these applying data science, artificial intelligence principles there also. So yeah, again, coming back to the question, how pharmaceutical industries might use these technologies, right? So the ultimate goal of a pharma company is to design a molecule for a certain disease.
Mhm.
And 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 you design a molecule, and what's next? And they have to test it in, I don't know, rats or other animals in other diseases, and maybe cell lines in certain cases.
Mhm.
And if you go through that with a person or manually,
Mhm.
it takes forever. You can't,
Correct.
you can't do 100 replicates using a person. And it's not efficient, it's time consuming, and
Costly.
it's costly. And at the end, some other company might be doing the same thing. They might be using some sophisticated techniques to get ahead.
Mhm.
And that's the main problem. And how these companies are using, let's say you have a molecule that produced by company, and
Mhm.
you want to test it in, let's say, 100 individuals or 100 animals, testing animals, clinical animals.
Mhm.
And you treat all of these animals or subjects like in a short frame of time,
Mhm.
and you collect DNA and just sequence them, like and then you in 1 week, or at least in a 1 month, you have the data from 100 subjects
Mhm.
that were treated by your molecule.
Mhm.
And if you can apply these data science principles I've been talking about, you can produce massive insights in a very short frame. Let's say another 2 months, even say, let's say another 6 months.
Mhm.
Massive insights into what exactly your molecule or your drug is doing,
Mhm.
where your drug is working properly, where your drug is failing, where your drug is giving you the false impression that it is working but it's not actually working,
Mhm.
and which kind of cohort or which kind of population is actually resistant to your drug.
Mhm.
These are the kind of, I mean, these are the exact questions you need to get ahead with your product, right? So you can answer all these questions with these machine learning, artificial intelligence techniques. Not only doing that at this point, so you apply all your machine learning, artificial intelligence techniques to this data,
Mhm.
and you store that program that is trained on these data. And in future you might produce the same data again, so
Mhm.
you don't need to do the analysis from scratch. You just send this data to this model and
Mhm.
it will tell you what's happening.
Mm. But
So,
but but the thing is, like, how are industries really coping up? Like, I mean, so not everybody can hire you, right? So
yeah,
I'm more interested in the thinking methodology. I know a couple of companies whom I'm also supporting them. They are
yeah,
really afraid that within 10 years that they will be gone.
yeah,
So they're working hard to now to organize think tanks
yeah,
to see where the trends can happening.
yeah,
So I'm more interested to see your perspective, like how people go crazy now with
yeah,
this idea that we need to have digital transformation.
yeah, exactly. And so let's go to our basic principle: survival of the fittest,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And you can easily imagine who can survive this massive transformation into digital sciences. I mean, if I start a company with some product,
Mhm.
and in 5 years I'm still doing the lab work, and I mean, of course, lab work is always needed,
Mhm.
but I'm very reluctant to change into this digital sciences or
Mhm.
digital era.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's not hard to imagine many people are working on similar things, right? Many people are working on similar things in reality also.
Mhm.
And if even if half of, even not even half, even 1% of the other companies are employing these sophisticated machine learning, artificial intelligence techniques, you're already behind. I mean, other 90% of the companies are behind than that company. It's
Mhm.
as I explained, it's a massive uh, decreasing in the time frame that you are doing your entire pipeline, and
Mhm.
also massive improvement in the insights you gain using these technologies. Yeah, as again, as you rightly put it, if they don't enter into this transformation, of
Mhm.
course they will be yeah, people might think they are old generation, that are very reluctant to change, and eventually they go bankrupt, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. I mean, of course, the basic science, what people are doing, has to
Yeah,
go on.
yeah,
Digital has to be complementary. It has to be an add-on, but not the complete.
yeah.
I mean, what I think is that the technologies like medical devices or the
Mhm.
biotechnology, drug discovery,
Yeah,
using drugs, they all will be there, maybe forever.
yeah, yeah,
We didn't even touch the tip of biotechnology yet. So it's
exactly.
to come with the designer babies,
Yeah,
bringing back the dead to life. So these are the like extreme examples, but
yeah,
these are all the interdisciplinary sciences,
yeah,
and
yeah.
digital has to be an add-on.
Hmm.
I think it will be very big help from digital, like predicting, like modeling and all the things.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I want to touch base a bit about startups. Like I mean, we gave examples,
Yeah.
but I see in my own, in my life, like I see a lot of digital health startups.
Hmm.
So if a startup is starting from a scratch, a digital health startup, so what would be your advice for them to work on, or otherwise, where can they start?
Yeah, it's again $1 billion question, Jagdish. As we think about it, yes, of course, it's massive amounts of data is available, massive amounts of data, and also it's exponentially increasing. I mean, if your data is like one gallon today, and by in 1 month it will be 10 or even 100 gallons of data.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again the manpower with expertise to look into the data and identify patterns and trends. And whatever your product is, whatever your idea is, if you kind of, so there's always a way you can turn, or you can add on the digital aspect to your product, right? Even it's your biotech product, introducing a new technology to, let's say identify unknown proteins, or maybe the other is chemical product, your design or your molecule, and all even the basic sciences also, in terms of academia, they have certain thing they identified. But is it only to that subject, or it's a general thing? Because if so, world works on averages, right? So I mean, you can't always take the extreme and explain this is how this country is working. You can't take Jeff Bezos as an example for USA and say everybody is rich in USA. That's not how it works. You have to look at the averages and medians of the population to identify something and generalize to a big data, big populations. And if I'm someone starting a startup or company, I would, let's say, my interest is in certain disease, and I would really focus on what's exactly happening in that disease and what kind of data people are producing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have to focus. I mean, if you don't know what kind of data is already available, you can't do much. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even if you have a $1 billion idea,
Mm-hmm.
and with your $1 billion idea, you add on this digital component to your product, looking at what kinds of data is available, what kind of data people are producing, what kind you and also you need to anticipate what kind of data will come out. Because if I start a company today, I cannot release a product in next 1 month, right?
Mhm.
So but some people have been working on their product for a certain time, like let's say from past 5 years, and they will release their product or their data in the next 1 month, because they have been working already on that for five years. And I started just now, and I have to anticipate what kind of things might come up with this one.
Mhm.
The very good example is about CRISPR. I mean, CRISPR technique, and it is a good technique to modify genes, and in a very sophisticated way, in a precise way. That's really good. But what kind of utilities come out of that? We have seen a presentation at one of the conferences. He presented the data. He already modified the embryos. That's one aspect. People are still debating if it's a good idea or not. In my opinion, it's not a good idea, of course. But if you it depends on who you are asking. If you're asking parents of a patient, of course they will say it's a good idea.
Mhm.
But yeah, the debate is ongoing. But in my opinion, if we summarize that,
Mhm.
with your idea, with your product in mind, you have to anticipate what is coming up from the market and what is coming up from the academia, what kind of data people are producing, and how can you use that data to amplify your product. That I would say that in a simplified version,
Yeah.
in that way. But yeah, I mean, data, always
I
massive amounts of
I think
data.
I think that like if you put it in simple terms, like look for what already exists and build on it,
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
also expect what result it could be.
Yeah.
And I will also add one more layer, like look at the like the regulatory compliance, and then
Exactly.
build from that. So I think we need a lot of digital health startups in
Yeah. Yeah.
many predictive diseases.
Hmm.
Uh, Great. So now I want to switch gears a bit to the career perspective. So
Yes.
we spoke already about the universities, big pharmas, and
Hmm.
also the startups. Now I'll switch completely to the students, like
Yeah.
how they could train into data sciences,
Yeah.
the resources what they can get online or even paid, and
Yeah.
then what kind of careers that they can expect. And I also want a bit more in the interdisciplinary, like most of
Yeah.
the my followers are the biologists or the life scientists. So
Yeah.
now, if they think about data sciences, where can they start?
Yeah, exactly. That's really a good question. So I would say, when you ask this question, there's something that comes to my mind is what I was doing during my bachelor's, right? And I mean, honestly, I would say the resources available now are very, very sparse in my time. And
Mhm.
I would say even people who are doing bachelor's now are much, much smarter than I was when I was doing my bachelor's. I would confidently say now, if I compare, even sometimes if I see a bachelor student, the way they talk and the knowledge they have, I was like, wow, I was completely stupid when I was doing my bachelor's. Because yeah, because with resources, with internet, you get more knowledge. Even if, let's say, even if you are wasting 2 hours on the internet, even if you focus 1 hour on the useful stuff, you get much more knowledge, because people are spending lot of time on the internet. And if they can direct that into certain direction, it will be really, they will be rock stars of something they want to be in the field. And yeah, my suggestion would be, learn coding. So whatever the language, just start with coding.
Mhm.
And now a lot of tutorials are available. And if you think about it, um, internet is queued with introductory materials. I mean, in any area,
Mhm.
even YouTube also. I mean, so if you type R programming for beginners, yeah, you find ton of resources that can tell you how to do R programming with some basics, and or any other language.
Mhm.
And but if you write expert level R programming,
Mhm.
you find very little resources.
Mhm.
And that's, I want people to focus exactly on that. So you learn some basics, but what after that? With the principle you already know, Dunning-Kruger effect, right? So
Mhm.
you get to know, or you start in a new field, and in a relatively short time you might feel like an expert, but you are actually not. I mean, the learning curve is very steep.
Mhm.
And especially for coding, because the way programmers think is slightly different than the actual wet lab experiment people do. I mean, I'm not saying one is high, one is low, but the thinking process is slightly different. People think in computational when we talk about programming.
Mhm.
So the easiest advice, or is the simple or practical advice in my opinion, would be just start a YouTube tutorial and
Mhm.
exactly follow. So they follow the entire course.
Mhm.
No, there are 5 hours, 8 hours tutorials on YouTube.
Mhm.
Just start that and complete the tutorial.
Mhm.
I mean, I sometimes I'm also kind of I will be honest here. Sometimes I also don't finish these 8 hour courses, right? I mean, to me it's okay because I already know some programming. If somebody is starting out, they have to finish the entire process from start to end. That's when they know, they have an understanding of the programming and also the logic behind programming.
Mhm.
And one more advice I would give is, if you start today, in 1 week you won't be you don't get a good understanding. You
Mhm.
have to think in terms of 6 months or 1 year. So in 6 months I have to complete this course and I want to get a good understanding of the programming language. So
Mhm.
I want people to think in terms of the 6 months, half a year. Then only you get really good skill set in that area.
Mhm.
And especially with the internet and the ADHD popping up everywhere,
Mhm.
people just they want results very quickly. And especially if you want a skill set, it won't happen very quickly. Even 1 month or 2 months, it's not so easy to get into a new field and get some skill set to say, yeah, I know this programming language, I can do certain tasks.
Mhm.
It's not possible. I highly advise, I can't really emphasize on this.
Mhm.
Think in terms of 6 months or 1 year,
Mhm.
and then you can say, okay, I have a good understanding of this programming, and now I want to look for labs who are doing this kind of work. I
Mhm.
mean, in whatever your interest is in terms of disease or basic sciences, just find a lab. Everybody is doing in academics this computational biology.
Mhm.
Just write to them and just explain in your CV, yeah, I studied this and this. And actually I would really emphasize to highlight the skill set you have, especially the programming you learn. So
Mhm.
you say, yeah, I have this knowledge from my bachelor's and I can do this programming language, and I saw your work in your website. I'm really interested to work in your lab at least for 6 months.
Mhm.
That's a really good start. That's how I approached. I mean, I wrote just 2 lines in the email, and I attached my CV, and I asked them, I'm really interested to work under your guidance in your lab and your projects.
Mhm.
It would be really nice if you give me a chance.
Mhm.
That's it.
Great.
And it's just like cold emails, right? I mean, you write an email, if you get a response, yes, of course, it's good. If you don't get a response, you're not losing anything. So I would really suggest that.
But once you are an expert, I think people will be in queue for you.
Yeah,
So there are
exactly.
a lot of job opportunities. Like
Yeah,
I see a lot of job opportunities in big data
yeah,
analysis or any others, even in the software programming and all these things. I think these
yeah,
digital skills are like the new trend right now,
yeah, yeah,
and there are many opportunities, even in startups, big companies,
yeah,
or even in academia. There are a lot of opportunities.
yeah, yeah.
So I think to cut the long story short, what you say is that look for the free tools that are already available,
Yes.
build on that, get experience, real experience, maybe a 6 months or 3 months internship somewhere,
Yeah.
paid or unpaid, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
or even if you have to pay for it, and
I mean,
get.
if you get a paid one, I would really strongly suggest the other side of the spectrum, right? The PIs or the companies to pay for these 3 months, 6 months internship. I mean, they are bachelor students, right? I mean, how do they get money to survive? Because they are doing some kind of work for you, and
Well,
you have
it's
to give.
debatable. Like, let's not go
Yeah,
into it. Like,
exactly.
nobody knows what their aims are.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, but I think I like the idea. Like, you start from the free resources because there's
exactly.
tons of information available.
Yeah,
Like Coursera, edX, it is all edutech platforms are blasting.
yeah,
Right. So Venu, thank you so much. I mean, we talked quite a lot, like how you made your career in data sciences. Maybe we'll end up with a final question, like
yeah,
what are you working on? Maybe whatever is not confidential, please tell us.
yeah.
And also, where do you see yourself as a data scientist in the future, so that people can also build their career by having you as a role model?
Yeah, role model is a big word, Jagdish. But yeah, maybe I can explain you. So during my PhD, I worked on different ideas, applying these data science principles, computational biology principles, to identify the drug mechanisms when you treat someone with certain disease. What exactly your drug is doing, right? And you have to know that. Otherwise, how can you know ins and outs of treating a patient?
Mhm.
And we try, so that's where my expertise is. So when you treat a patient with drug, and I would really, I mean, that's where my interest also lies.
Mm.
What exactly is happening? What kind of modifications the drug is causing? Are those modifications really good for the patient or not good? And if it's good, how can we amplify that? Maybe we combine this drug with another drug and see if it's really good, or if the patient is not responding at all, how can we make that patient to respond to this drug by using another synergistic compound or these kind of things. And in this space, I apply these machine learning principles get to gain more insights. I mean, it's not like we cannot treat a patient and see what exactly is happening. Is the patient dying or recovering, right? So we have to understand what's going on inside. I mean, at the end of at the end of the day, you want to know if your patient is getting better treatment.
Mm.
And though that's my expertise, and that's my interest also. Let's say in 5 years, I would say, uh, I would really focus on these artificial intelligence and diagnostics and patient stratifications and these kind of things. But I would say this is still very slow growing area, especially if you focus on very small subset of your entire field. I think I also suggest our students to look for the trends, what exactly is happening, alongside learning things
Mm.
like programming and stuff. Look for these commentaries from big scientists. They know where the field is going.
Mm.
And yeah, these are the kind of things. Yeah, I would really gain more and more skills in artificial intelligence. It's a very big field, and yeah, if I compare myself to someone peer, I would always feel like an imposter, like I don't even know 1% of the guy the skills or the knowledge he has. But it's always the case. Don't really worry about it. Yeah, just keep on working, and yeah, think in terms of half a year or year.
I think it's the knowledge. If we aim at the knowledge, then there's a
Yeah,
lot to learn and apply.
yeah, exactly.
Great, great, Venu. So thank you so much. I think let's wind it up here.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm really grateful to hear your story and also inspire startups or the big companies to think
yeah.
beforehand about the data strategy and also the students who can make career in it.
Yeah, exactly, Jagdish. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I could, yeah, I mean, even if your questions are not, if any students are watching this, if their questions are not covered, they can reach out to me, and I can just give you some links to website where they can learn for free. And yeah, it's really nice for me also to reflect on my journey once in a while, to see, oh, okay, yeah, there's some progress is happening in my life.
Yeah.
And it's really good to share some of the things, and to also in a way help the new generation to get into the field, and also to identify their interest and how they want to go. If I can help in any way, that's or if our podcast and discussion is helpful to anyone in any way, I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
Thanks. Are there any final words that you want to say?
Yes, I mean, there are many things I could say. I could say, but for student, yeah, I want to really emphasize, just don't try to get quick results. It won't happen. It's not true. It's a myth. Quick results don't happen. Even if they are happening, they won't. It's not sustainable. They won't survive for long.
Mm.
And try to get a good understanding of fundamentals.
Mhm.
This is for students, and in terms of like college faculties, I would really suggest, even though it's not included in their state syllabus or in their curriculum, uh, I would really ask them to give an introduction to what's happening in the world of biology or in the world of digital sciences, because for 4 years you are not introduced to these kind of things at all of a sudden you come out,
mm,
and you see massive things are happening, you're clueless, right? So I mean, it's not good. I mean, you should get this idea in your bachelor's
mm,
that these things are happening, maybe just basic introduction. So yeah, there is some sequencing things are happening, you get these kind of things out of this, and this is something called machine learning, this is something called deep learning, people are doing this kind of stuff with it.
mm,
If they have that basic thing in their mind when they come out of their college, they already have an idea, right? So okay, this is deep learning, I already heard about it in my bachelor's.
mm,
And I really strongly suggest the faculty to include these basic aspects of new trends in their curriculum.
mm. Great.
Yeah.
Great, Venu. Excellent. Once again, thank you so much, and we
Yeah.
look forward for helping as many as we could.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jagdish. It was really nice talking to you, and it's really fun.
Great, then.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye bye. We hope you enjoyed the talk with Dr. Venu Thatikonda. It's amazing how beautifully he has structured his career around bioinformatics, and he also sees the next 10 years or 20 years, it's a age of AI and the data. So, if there are any questions how to make a career in data or how to make a startup, how you could basically build an ecosystem around it, please do not hesitate to contact us. We are there to help. Take care.